again, this is a demonstration on creating the three-legged pot or the three-legged cup mug. All right, we've rolled a slab of clay out. I'm using the metal rib of death to smooth the surface out. Remember, on these, these cups really like texture. So add as much texture as you can. Last time we talked about using a doily like this. Okay, we can do some stamping. There's other texture tools that are available. There is, like this was the bottom of a glass plate that we had bought at Goodwill. Okay, and it had this design in it, and so we just press the clay into it. Now, if that's something you want to do, you certainly can. You can bring in stuff from the outside if you want. If it's a non-porous surface, such as glass or plastic, you have to put some kind of release agent on it. Could be WD-40, could be spray olive oil, anything like that, okay? Those work really well. But if you just put your clay, let's say on the, so this was a glass plate, if we just put the clay directly on the glass plate, it would have stuck, and that would have been bad. Okay, so I'm going to use the same template that we used for the cylinder that we did on Friday. Let's see. Put that there. Remember, when you're using a fettling knife on the boards, on the canvas, use the back side of the knife. Okay. Just simple cuts. We're going to take off. We're not going to use all of this clay, this rectangle. The other thing, oh, it looks like I didn't check, and it looks like somebody has moved the thickness to the roller since the last time I used it. So that's, to me, that's a little thick. You know, you guys watching? All right, so a little thick. I'm going to roll it through here again. With that little strip, sure did get a little bigger, huh? All right. Coolio. All right. We don't need all that. That's good. All right. Sorry about this. I'm gonna smooth out my surface again. Remember, I don't want to leave that texture of the canvas. If you're going to put texture in, make sure that the texture that you put in is on purpose, not on accident. So texture from the canvas is accidental texture. Good enough. Again, I'm using the back. And one thing you might have noticed with these cups is they're a little bit shorter than these. That's because when we move, when we make the feet, when we like this one is bellied out. If you belly it out, it'll make it a little bit shorter. So, but because of that, even though of that, I'm gonna make it about an inch shorter than my template. Okay, so I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, now I need texture. That's kind of cool. Look, we got like highlighters. We got those really neat caps on them, right? And they just have some really fun textures that go with it. My other favorite tool, let's see if I have it in my toolbox. Oh, it's a meat mallet that I got from the Goodwheels. All right, I'm gonna use it. So just putting texture in, overlap some texture here. Maybe I'll use these. Again, texture is key. Pattern is good. All right, we're almost there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out just like what we did with the other cylinder. We're going to roll my shape. I'm going to overlap my form just a bit. I'm going to cut at an angle. Okay, that gives us that. I'm going to do a score. Score, score, score. Put my slip on. Put them together gently. Doing my best, because I do already have texture on, I'm doing my best not to smush my texture. Again, I'm doing this rather quickly so that you don't have to sit here any longer. I'm going to go on the inside here and kind of clean up my join by smearing the clay from the, in construction terms, we call it long point. Okay, if you've got, how do I explain it? If you've got a cut that's like this, okay, and the board goes here, this part that sticks out the farthest is called the long point, and the part that's here is called the short point. Okay, and so what we do on these is we take the long point, which is the outside edge, and we use it to kind of smear into the other piece of clay that's joining to it on its short point. So I know that might sound a little confusing. Okay, so I would get this the way I want it, give it a little flip over like that. Okay, I'm going to just give this a little thin out here, meaning I'm going to just pinch it just a little bit. Okay. Then what we have to do is figure out where our foot is going to be. So, if I leave this join, if I push it in like this, it's going to put a lot of stress on that joint. Would you agree? Like if I'm pushing it? So if I leave it out, that's probably a safe, no break kind of idea. So I'm going to create 3 feet, which means I gotta split this into thirds. So that's a foot, and I know my join is gonna be a foot. And then somewhere right in here is gonna be a foot. Okay? So all we have to do is push in, like this. Come back around to this one, press in. Come over here to this one, and press in. And then we start working all of my edges together. Now, putting 2 pieces of clay together, you have to slip and score, right? So I'm gonna score here, score here. This clay is just a little bit dry, it's been used, so it's a little unhappy about moving, but I'm not gonna worry about it because we can always go back in and we can fix those cracks as long as the clay doesn't dry out first. We can always fix them. Okay? So I'm going to just gently kind of push these 2 bits of clay together. Turn, here's my join. Gently push. Okay. Let me join a little bit. Here's my gentle push. Clean up that surface crack. Cleans up right away. Okay. So I can push these down and get them pretty doggone close, but there's gonna be a hole. Okay, in the very middle. There's gonna be a little bit of a hole. See that? Right there. Okay. So, potters have kind of come up with a plan of kind of how to fix that, or celebrate it, or whatever you want to do. But most of the time, people just create something called a button. Okay, I'm a freehander here. You could use a little cookie cutter if you wanted to. I'm just going to freehand a little circle bit. Okay, it's kind of like a button. All right, like that. I'm going to put some texture on it, because why not? We've got this. Where'd my hammer go? There we go. We've got all this texture that's on there. Why wouldn't we have texture on the bottom part? So there's my little texture piece, my little button. Hopefully I made it big enough. Might have been a little overzealous here and didn't make it big enough. That's okay. All right, there's plenty of slip on there now. And I'm just going to push this button in to plug up the hole. Makes sense? Okay. Now the other part that we have to deal with is the inside, where the pieces all come together. Okay, it's not very pretty. So I would get in there maybe with a throwing stick, or remember we got these potter's thumbs and stuff like that, and I would just work it, just gently. Just work the clay all around, cleaning it up, taking my time, making it look like that, you know, these pieces were there all the time. They weren't like stuck together by my hand. Okay? So I'm going to do that. I'll do that some more. I'm going to finish off my rim here by pinching it and thinning it out, smoothing out my rim. Now, like this one here, the texture bit is so awesome. Like when you use glaze, glaze will pool and it changes colors. It flows, it runs, it does all kinds of things. And when you add texture to your pots, it just loves it. So now I'm going to come over here. Ooh, my join wasn't very happy yet. So sometimes it does take a little bit for your pot, your join to settle up. And I'm just pushing out this pot. I'm using my thumb to kind of control where the bump out is. My outer thumb. I'm using my fingertip on the inside. Okay. Now your pot doesn't have to be, again, doesn't have to be straight up and down. In fact, if it has a little bit of shape to it, it's gonna look a whole lot neater. Alright, so I am just so rushing through this, I'm gonna tell you. Like, this isn't what, like, if this was you, you would be taking your time. Okay, for sure. Alright, rush, rush, push, push. Okay, so forming this pot a little bit more. That joint is not happy. It's okay. You can shape your clay here. So I'm using, I don't know if you, I'm sure you can see it, I'm just using my fingertip on the inside to kind of press out.